October is Safe Sleep Awareness Month, a month that is designated to promote healthy sleeping habits for newborns and raise awareness about sleep-related risks to infants. Coming up on Polk Place, we'll talk more about it. Make sure you stick around. Welcome to Polk Place. I'm Brian Lacey, and joining me in studio, Dr. Jane Iardi. She's the Chief Partnership Officer for Nemours in Florida, and also Chief Jeffrey Davidson of Haines City Fire Department. Guys, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
I want to start with you, Dr. Iardi. Talk to me a little bit about Safe Sleep Awareness Month. What exactly is it?
Well, it's a national month where we try to promote awareness and educating our families on safe sleep practices. The goal is to try to reduce preventable sleep-related deaths.
Who should really know about these sleep disorders?
Anyone who takes care of an infant, a child less than a year of life, that may have an opportunity to put the baby down for a nap or for a long sleep. So that would be a parent, it could be a grandparent, a sibling, care provider such as a sitter or a daycare provider.
When it comes to sleep with a baby, what are some of the things that we should look for? There's no real, clear cut. What should we do?
The easiest way to think about it is the ABCs. So A, always put a baby to sleep alone, B, on their back, and C, in a crib. So we say alone, a baby should never co-sleep with a parent or another sibling. What happens sometimes is parents in deep sleep can inadvertently roll on top of their child or even against their child and cause the child to suffocate. And unfortunately, we lose children every year from that cause. Babies should always be put back on their, to sleep on their back, flat on their back, and that has been shown over and over to really reduce the incidence of babies sleeping, dying in their sleep. And then finally, in their own crib. So it's important that a baby be asleep in a baby crib with a nice firm mattress with no pillows, no bumpers, no extra bedding, no toys or stuffed animals, things that the baby could maybe snuggle up against or go across the baby's face and cause the baby to suffocate.
Why is it important consistently to put them on their backs as far as sleep goes?
Well, the studies have shown over and over again that babies have a much lower incidence of death during sleep when they're sleeping flat on their back. So about a 5 to 7-fold decrease in the risk as opposed to sleeping on their stomach or being propped up on their side.
Now, Chief, as a first responder, do you have any incidents, anything that you might run calls on with children and sleeping?
Yeah, sadly, over the years we've seen quite a few, and most of them are preventable. As the doctor said here, making sure that the baby sleeps alone and on their back and in a crib. A lot of caretakers don't know these things, so one of the things we want to do is get out and educate them. We've seen children that innocently are put to bed and sadly they don't wake up, and most of these are preventable.
I want to talk a little bit about the risks of co-sleeping, if we could, please.
Yeah, as the doctor was saying, you see a lot of families that whether they're just exhausted and they know the baby's going to get up in a little while, so they're just resting with the baby, maybe on a couch like I'm on now, and they have the baby and they fall asleep, and unfortunately the baby, number one, could fall, but a lot of times the baby could fall to the side and get wedged in there with their face and not be able to breathe, or the parent could fall asleep and lean on the child and suffocate them as well.
The question's for both of you. What advice would you give to new parents who are facing the temptation of co-sleeping? What would, I want you both to kind of answer that if you could.
Don't do it.
Yeah, I think the risks are so high, and if you can find a better alternative like co-rooming with your child, that way you can address your child's needs, you can breastfeed every hour on the hour if your child wants, but you don't risk having a baby die unnecessarily.
I agree with that. Co-sleeping with the baby, it happens quite often. You know, let's say a family might be traveling and they don't have a crib and they let the baby sleep in the bed, even though we've seen where the baby is alone on a king-size bed, queen-size bed with blankets and pillows propped up, looks beautiful. And you know, a few hours later, they find the baby wedged in the corner, and the babies do move around a lot. And the babies don't need anything like that to sleep with, right, doctor?
Correct.
You know, the number one thing with cribs, the number one no-no are the bumpers. Bumpers are terrible for the babies. Toys that get put in the cribs, all those things. You don't need to have those things in your cribs.
One thing that Chief Davidson mentioned is a program that was designed by Captain Carroll in Broward County Fire and Jennifer Combs, who is a nurse practitioner in Broward County. And it's a program called FDoH, Direct On the Scene Education, correct?
Yes.
Which fortunately, Chief Davidson and his crew has adopted, and it's the first in Polk County. But I'll let you explain more. But it's a wonderful program where first responders can educate families on the spot on safe sleep practices and reinforce safe sleep practices.
First responders, we're there most of the time making contact with the community, and us to be able to, when we're called to an emergency, number one is handling the emergency, but afterwards, you know, if you notice that people have a child or baby that's sleeping there, you know, we would do a safety check, and if they do have an infant, you know, we would educate them as to how to properly put their baby to sleep. And the FDoH program was created by Captain Carroll, Fort Lauderdale Fire Rescue, more than a decade ago, along with Jennifer Combs, who's a nurse practitioner, wonderful people. And they have proven over time that this program does save lives. The data shows that the deaths have gone down through education. And first responders making the most contact with the community is a great way for us to be able to educate the public.
Where can we get more information on safe sleep habits?
So safekids.org is a wonderful resource where you can learn more about safe sleep practices and any other resources that you might need for your child. Some of the resources, if you don't have a crib available, there are pack and plays that either Cribs for Kids or some of the fire departments can either lend or provide families who don't have the availability to have a crib for their child, but they can still use a pack and play, which is a wonderful alternative, safe alternative.
Chief Davidson, Dr. Iardi, I want to thank you for coming in and giving us the information today, and come back again and see me soon, will you please?
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having us.
Sleep-related deaths are the second leading cause of death for children under the age of 1 in Polk County in 2020. Sleep-related deaths are 100% preventable. Babies should be placed alone in their crib on their backs. There should be no bumpers, no pillows, no loose bedding or other soft surfaces like stuffed animals in the crib with the baby. Caregivers responsible for the baby should never be under the influence of tobacco, alcohol, or drugs. Caregivers should never share beds with the baby. Polk County recognizes that this is a serious but preventable issue, and together we can ensure all caregivers have access to education and resources on safe sleep practices. Now, if you need more resources about safe sleep, please go to www.safekids.org.